I always thought my family was uncheckable. We were perfect, but we had a rhythm, a sense of unity that felt unbreakable. Sunday dinners, laughter echoing through the house, and quiet nights spent sharing stories. These were the moments I believed would last forever. My father, Nathan Ellis, 42, was the man I idolized. My mother, Clara, 38, was the soul of our home. And then, one ordinary evening in our small Portland apartment, everything changed. It started like any other night. The soft hum of the heater filled the living room, while the smell of Clara's cooking lingered in the air. My younger sister, Lily, 14, was sprawled on the couch, scrolling through her phone, completely unaware of the storm about to hit our family. I had just returned from work, expecting the usual warmth of home, but something felt off. Nathan's voice, when he called me into the living room, was unfamiliar. There was a tremor in it, a strain I had never heard before. Clara sat on the sofa, her hands clenched tightly as if trying to hold herself together. My heart sank. The air was heavy with unspoken words. Before I reveal what Nathan asked of me, you need to understand him. He wasn't cruel, not in the conventional sense. He was proud, traditional, and demanded control over his business, his home, even the emotions of those he loved. He gave love, yes, but always with strings attached. For years, we had accepted it because we thought that's just how he was. But love with conditions is not love, it's a cage. As I stood there, trying to process the tension, Nathan looked at me with eyes that were almost unrecognizable. Gone was the warmth, the reassurance I remembered from childhood. What replaced it was cold, distant, desperate. Slowly he spoke, carefully weighing each word. I need you to do something for me, he said. Something your mother can't manage. In that moment, the world seemed to stop. Clara lowered her gaze, silent tears tracing her cheeks. I tried to grasp what he was asking, but the words were sharper than any knife. This wasn't a simple favor. It was an ultimatum, a choice that forced me between loyalty to him and the truth I had always trusted in. My heart raced. My breath grew shallow. And when I finally refused, the cracks that had been quietly forming in our family widened into gaping chasms. That night marked the beginning of our unraveling. Secrets, betrayals, and lies, things I had never imagined, began to seep into our lives. The following days were suffocating. Nathan's voice, once commanding but comforting, now carried an unfamiliar heaviness. Clara moved like someone weighed down by invisible chains, her smiles rare, her laughter forced. Family dinners became silent affairs, forks scraping plates with a hollow echo. Lily asked if everything was okay, but we couldn't give her an answer without shattering our own fragile composure. Small, strange things started happening. Nathan would return home later and later, faint hints of perfume clinging to his jacket perfume that wasn't Clara's. Whispered conversations stopped abruptly whenever I entered the room. Phone calls ended the moment I approached. A growing tension, invisible yet palpable, wrapped around the house like a suffocating fog. One evening, I overheard a heated conversation. Clara's voice cracked, trembling. I can't carry this secret anymore. Nathan's reply was low, almost pleading. If you speak, you'll destroy us. Destroy us? My mind raced. What could be so devastating that revealing the truth might shatter the family I had trusted with my life? I didn't know then, but that was only the beginning. The secret Nathan was hiding would soon surface. and it would change everything I thought I knew about love, trust, and family. The storm that night mirrored the chaos in my heart. Rain lashed against the windows as if nature itself was echoing the tension inside our Portland home. I stood near the doorway, my younger sister, Lily, clinging to Clara's side, eyes wide with confusion and fear. My mother's face was pale, streaked with tears, and Nathan sat across from her, hands trembling, his usual commanding presence nowhere to be seen. There was no more hiding. The time for truth had come. Nathan took a deep breath, his voice low, almost breaking under the weight of confession. "There is another child," he said. The words hung in the air, heavy, suffocating. My stomach twisted, my chest tightened. A child? The revelation seemed impossible, yet undeniable. Clara's hands shook as she held the envelope he handed her. Inside were letters, photos, and legal documents, proof of a life Nathan had carefully concealed. For years, he had supported a woman named Evelyn and her son, privately, quietly, trying to protect them from a danger he refused to fully explain. It wasn't love that had driven him to her. He admitted it had been guilt, loneliness, and a mistake during a period of marital strain. "I thought I could protect everyone," he whispered, voice cracking. "I never wanted to hurt you, Clara, but in trying to protect them, I destroyed us instead." My mother's sobs filled the room. For a moment, I wanted to flee, to escape the suffocating weight of betrayal and heartbreak. But I stayed rooted to the spot, watching the family I had known unravel before my eyes. Lily's grip on my mother tightened. She didn't fully understand the complexity of it all, but she knew our world had shifted forever. "What about us?" Clara finally asked, her voice trembling. "What about the family we built?" Nathan didn't have a simple answer. All he could offer was honesty, raw and unfiltered. He explained that the child wasn't his biologically. Evelyn had been fleeing a dangerous situation, and he had promised to protect her and the boy. That promise had come at the cost of secrecy, deception, and a family living in shadows. The room was silent after his confession, except for the sound of rain. It was a silence filled with grief, confusion, and the fragile beginnings of understanding. Betrayal, I realized, wasn't always born from malice. Sometimes it was the result of choices made in fear, in love, and in desperation. Over the next few days, the house shifted again, but this time subtly. Clara no longer avoided Nathan, though the distance between them remained fragile. Nathan tried to rebuild, openly sharing the truth and including her in decisions he had once hidden. And I felt the heavy weight of my own conflicted emotions. Love, anger, fear, and compassion battled within me. Lily, too young to fully comprehend, found solace in small routines. Dinner became quieter but calmer, our conversations more honest. Nathan spent time explaining things, piece by piece, as Clara listened, sometimes shaking her head in disbelief, sometimes allowing small smiles to appear. And yet the memory of that first revelation lingered. I remembered the late-night phone calls, the hidden envelopes, the whispers in hallways. I realized that even though the truth had come out, the scars of secrecy and the weight of betrayal would take time to heal. Our family wasn't perfect, and perhaps it never would be, but there was a fragile foundation to rebuild on. That night, as the storm finally passed and the sky cleared, I watched Nathan and Clara sit together by the window. They didn't speak much, but there was a quiet understanding between them. The house felt different, not empty, not broken, but aware of the past and cautious of the future. I realized something profound. Love isn't always simple. Trust can be shattered, but honesty, even when late, can begin to repair what's been lost. Betrayal doesn't always come from strangers. Sometimes it comes from the people we trust the most, and surviving it requires courage, forgiveness, and patience. For the first time in weeks, I breathed fully. The storm inside our home hadn't completely passed, but we had faced it together. And perhaps that was enough to start again. The days that followed Nathan's unthinkable demand were unbearable. Our house, once warm and full of laughter, felt like a place I no longer recognized. Clara moved through the room silently, her smiles rare and fleeting, while Nathan seemed distant, as if we were all living alongside strangers. Lily, sensing the tension, became quieter, often retreating to her room to read or scroll endlessly on her phone. I felt caught in the middle, torn between love for my father and the annoying sense that something was terribly wrong. It started with small, almost imperceptible signs. Late-night phone calls that ended abruptly when I entered the room. Whispers that stopped mid-sentence. Nathan coming home late, faint traces of perfume clinging to his coat. I tried to push the thoughts away, to cling to the version of my father I had always known, but the evidence mounted too quickly. One evening, curiosity and fear pushed me to follow him. I told myself it was just to confirm my suspicions, but deep down I knew I needed answers. Nathan claimed he had a late meeting, but instinct told me otherwise. I stayed back, keeping my distance, and watched as he drove across Portland to a quiet, upscale restaurant on the other side of the city. A woman was waiting outside, smiling when she saw him. There was something in her expression, familiarity, comfort, even intimacy, that made my chest tighten. My heart raced as I watched the man I trusted more than anyone approach her. They embraced, briefly, casually, but enough to shatter the illusion of normalcy I had clung to. I couldn't move, couldn't even cry. I was frozen, watching my father walk into a life I had never imagined. Returning home felt surreal. Nathan arrived later, pretending nothing had changed. He poured himself a drink, loosened his tie, and sat across from Clara, who didn't even look up. The silence between them was deafening, thick with unspoken words, guilt, and tension. I wanted to confront them, to demand answers, but fear kept me silent. Once a secret is exposed, there's no turning back. The following days were a nightmare. Clara became withdrawn, her energy draining with each passing moment. Nathan, once a commanding presence, grew defensive over the smallest things, her cooking, her tone, even her silence. Arguments, subtle but sharp, replaced the warmth that had once filled our home. Then came the discovery that changed everything. Clara found an envelope hidden in Nathan's briefcase. I remember the look on her face as she opened it: shock, heartbreak, disbelief. Inside were letters, photos, and documents that painted a picture of a life I could never have imagined. My stomach twisted as the truth began to surface. Nathan had been living a double life. When Clara confronted him, his face drained of color, his usual confidence replaced by desperation. "You don't understand," he said, voice trembling. "It's not what you think." But the documents told a different story. A woman, a child, letters that revealed a secret family Nathan had been quietly supporting for years. The revelation hit me like a tidal wave. My father, the man who taught me right from wrong, the one I trusted implicitly, had kept an entire life hidden from us. For a brief moment, I wanted to hate him, to scream, to retreat into anger. But beneath it all, there was confusion. How could love and betrayal coexist so closely? As I tried to process what I saw, another unsettling realization struck me. Nathan hadn't just been hiding infidelity. There were layers to his secret, connections to someone or something that seemed bigger, darker, and more dangerous. The woman and child weren't just casual acquaintances. Their safety, it seemed, was entwined with the past Nathan had shielded us from. Every day became a test of endurance. I watched Clara's spirit fade, the lines of worry etched deeper into her face. Nathan's guilt weighed him down, making him irritable, restless, unrecognizable. And me, I became an observer trapped in my own home, struggling to reconcile the father I knew with the man standing before me. One stormy night, as rain pounded against the windows, I finally understood our family wasn't tea breaking because of lies alone. It was breaking under the weight of secrets kept for love. The truth Nathan had hidden wasn't just about betrayal. It was about protection, fear, and decisions that spiraled far beyond anyone's control. I knew, deep down, that the moment of confrontation was approaching. Sooner or later, we would have to face the consequences of the hidden truths, and when we did, nothing would ever be the same.